cheek. What would I give if you asked? All my strength.
Hello. Hello. Quick overview for the Moen GEC9, the GEC Guitar Effects Commander. You need to command the guitar effects with the commander. You know, if you were Austrian. So I actually have never plugged this puppy in. So it is to me brand new and we're gonna learn together. You have nice kind of neoprene feet, which I will probably take off so that I can put it on the board. What do we have? We have 5 presets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and different than the GEC9, a GEC8 Live or the Junior, it has actually bank up and down switches, so not just bank up. And then you have a mute button and it also says clean, so I'm thinking it might be a bypass button, which the 8 also doesn't have, or the 8 Live doesn't have. So we're gonna see, but it's a bypass button, so that's nice. And as far as I can tell, this is one of the easiest to program loopers on the market, because you have 9 loops and you very simply go to, let's say, preset 1, and on these buttons right here you push which loops you want active. Then you go to preset 2, you push which loops you want active. No save, no going into any menu. You push the preset, turn on the loops, go to the next preset, and you could change it on the fly. Go here, that's it. Very, very simple. This will show you the bank, I assume. Now let's look at the... I hear doggy coming. Hey, Congo. She's like, screw you. We have a ground thing on the back here, which I don't quite know what that's for and how you connect that. You can probably put a cable in there and maybe tie it to the pedal board or something. So let's look at this. We have 9 volt in. Doesn't say how much power it eats. 300 milliamps. So you need to make sure that your power supply has a high milliamp output, kind of for digital pedals. So we have a buffered input and a buffered output. So you go in there, can go somewhere else. But if you don't want buffered, which might not work with a wah-wah or certain types of fuzz pedals, it says clean out. That says clean, so I'm thinking that's probably your tuner output. So when you push mute, it goes out of clean. Not tuner? It's a tuner out, that's what I would call it. Then you have a non-buffered input and out 1. Out 2. There's 2 outputs. Why are there 2? There's an output 1 and an output 2. So we have different inputs, buffered, unbuffered, and out 1 and out 2. Now, I don't know what that's for. Does it put it out of both at the same time? Possible. We'll find out. So we have 6 loops in succession, and they are internally wired. So you go into the input, and then you go into loop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's already kind of neat. And then you have 3 other loops that are completely separate. They're not wired into each other, so it's not a group of 6 and a group of 3. It's actually a group of 6 and 3 groups of 1. Number 7 has an input, loop, and output. Number 8, you go in, put the pedals in, and out. What is that for? Well, that's Moen's concept for the bigger ones. You could have the first 6 loops in front of your amp. Now you could have, get this, the next loop, number 7, in the effects loop of your amp. Let's say for your delay. Okay? The next loop could be another set of pedals in front of another amp, and the next loop could be the effect loop of that second amp. So if you have a second amp for, let's say, clean sounds, and you want a chorus in front of it and a delay in the who knows what, in the effects loop, you could do this. So you can get very creative with this. Also, Moen's kind of cool, because if you're not using these 3 extra loops, let's say you only use 2 of them, but you want a trigger, a switch to switch your amp channel or something, you can misuse them. Normally open and normally closed, 2 different switching states. You can misuse them as triggers. So pretty much when that loop is on, trigger is on. When the loop is off, trigger is off. And we're going to actually try this, because I'm going to set it up with 8 loops wired and the 9th loop as a trigger, because this has no trigger outputs. Okay? The 8 Live and the 8 Junior have trigger outputs, so have other switches. This doesn't. So if you want to use this as a trigger to switch your amp, you will have to use one of the 3 loops, 7, 8, or 9. Okay, we're going to find out what the 2 outputs are for, because right now I cannot tell you. I do not know. And that's the overview so far. We're going to plug it in, of course, on a board, which I guess now I have to build. Well, we're going to do that in fast forward mode.
My father's son, yeah.
So I remembered I'm not so different and I made my own mistakes. I forged a new path, another direction, but I'll always be my father's son. Yeah, my father's son.
So you've seen me talk about the overview of the thing, and now I actually know what out 1 and 2 are for, because I looked at the manual. Just means it's actually just doubled. So you can go out of 1 or 2 or both. It's just the same signal. It's the signal that comes in after loop number 6. So runs through all 6 loops, and then goes out of both at the same time. Now you see me build the board in extreme fast forward. Now let me go through the board a little bit, show you what I've done, and then show you the quickest explanation of how to program a looper, because this thing is easy. Way to go, Moen. Really have to say that. So if my lovely assistant Leslie would come over, and I pointed things. I'm coming down here. So I go in with the guitar. Relatively simple. I go in the buffered input just because it feels right. Can go in unbuffered, whatever you want to do. Then I'm taking the clean out, which gets engaged with this mute/clean, which simply means it's going to the tuner. So clean out to the tuner, as you can see, no output from the tuner because it just goes there and ends here to be tuned. The whole board is powered with 2 Moen MISO, Moen isolated power supplies here and here. And since I need more high milliamp outputs, I'm actually using 2 additional Strymon power supplies, but the rest is all powered only by these 2 power supplies. The board is a Pedal Train Pro. I think that's what it's called. It's the second biggest they have. So, sorry if I'm chewing because I'm having a really bad cough. Using this really glibbery kind of green thing to not cough. See this? It comes out of my mouth. You didn't want to see that, right? Okay, sorry. I showed you anyway. So, loop number 1. I have my trusted Moore Yellow Comp. My favorite compressor because it adds nice bite. Really cool. Which goes into the Strymon Mobius. Now, that's in loop number 2. This is modulation, and obviously we can fight about where modulation should be. I'm having it in front of everything. With the Mobius, you actually have the choice to use it either or. It has 2 inputs and 2 outputs if you want to, and per preset you could switch where it is. So I could actually put the Mobius in loop number 2 and loop number 7 if I wanted to. I chose not to do that. So loop number 2 is the Mobius, which right now is on a rotary, but it's not going straight back. It's also going into the Strymon orbit, the flanger, flanger, the Strymon flanger. So those 2 are both in loop number 1, and I can choose which one I'm using, or maybe even both. Loop number 3, now we're getting into the drives, is the brand new Moval Minotaur. Very nice low gain overdrive. Loop number 4 are the 2 Miloš Popović, I just love to say that, Miloš Popović, Gainiacs, the Gainiac Henning edition and the Gainiac Germanium edition, which is fuzzier. That's loop number 4. Loop number 5 is the gold standard from Jeddah and the exotic AC Plus. Now, why did I use so many drives? Well, it's a big board and you got to put shit on it, so that's the reason. And of course, I'm not using all of them at the same time. That would be crazy. I use either one of these 2 in loop number 4 or either one of these 2 in loop number 5. So depending on the song. So loop number 6, still in front of the amp, I have 2 delays. So of course, if I'm using the amp for drive, I wouldn't use those because you want your delay in, behind the drive. So I would only use those if I use the drives on the board. And again, I can choose either the Strymon Brigadier analog delay or the Miloš Popović deeper blue analog delay up to 600 milliseconds. And sounds great. It can actually sound exactly like the Brigadier, but obviously the Brigadier has more options and it's 5 times, 6 times, 7 times as expensive. So I can choose between those 2. So that's loop number 1, number 2, those 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, goes into loop number 7, which is the timeline, but loop number 7, as you've seen in the overview, is separate. So I'm coming from the send, I'm using the PRS SE20 because it's switchable and we want to check the switch options. Right now I'm on the clean channel, reverb is down. So I'm going out of the effects loop into loop number 7 with this very bulky cable here. Just can't really have it any other way. That's not the... It's a big ass Neutrik plug and it's a little bit too big. So okay, and then 7 goes into the timeline and back in here. Okay? Now, this little puppy, the Van Golem from Moval, very cool, dirty sounding phaser, kind of a phase 90 with a twist, is actually in the FX loop of the timeline, so that if I wanted to, I could phase my delays. That's just cool. And I could phase the delays. That's rhyming for you. So 7 goes with a little patch cable from Moen into 8. 8 is the Big Sky reverb, right now just on a decent spring, very, very subtle. And then with this big Planet Waves cable right here, we're going back into the FX loop of the amp. So those two are in the FX loop of the amp, whereas the Van Golem is in the FX loop of the timeline. And if you have understood nothing, that's because this is a crazy complicated, stupid board, but still fun, huh? So what we want to try now is to use loop number 9 right here as a switch to switch from the clean channel to the distorted channel. And I haven't actually tried this deliberately so that we can explore this together. Can you zoom out a little bit? Go back a little bit? Because we want to see my pretty face. Thank you. So, she was giggling back there. This is art right here. So, we have loop number 8, which has an input and an output, and then of course the actual send in return. And 2 of those, which is, let me check. The send can be used as a trigger for normally closed, whatever that means, and the out can be used as a trigger for normally open. So don't ask me what that means. We have to figure out a couple of things, and I'm doing this with you. As I said, I have not tried it, so that you actually see what you would have to go through to find out. I'm using an insert cable. Why? I only want to have one switching function. I don't want to... You can switch the clean channel to lead, and you can switch reverb on and off. But I only have one trigger on here, so I can only do one of the 2. And I'm going to try to go to the lead channel. Now, an insert cable is a cable that on one side has 2 mono plugs, like these, and it runs into one stereo plug, like this. You can see it's 2 cables going to the 2 plugs, ending up in one. So you have a tip, ring, sleeve. Tip, ring, sleeve. Now what I need to know is it the tip or the ring that does the switching function that I want. This doesn't have a mono input, so I need to use a stereo cable into the foot switch input. Why are you filming my crotch? Why are you filming my crotch? Stop filming my crotch. Ah, see, so I plugged it in and it automatically went to the lead channel. That's not what we want. So now I need to find out which of these 2 cables is doing what I want it to do and with which of the 2 outputs. So it's just a trial and error thing. So we're gonna try this. An error. So that's not doing it, and I'm trying this in normally closed or open. So I'm thinking the blue one not happening. So we try this. Hey! Something happens up there. So I'm thinking this is the one I want. Okay, red one in normally closed, and if I switch loop number 9 on and off, it should switch. There you go. I love it when things work. So that's actually... What if I change it around? Okay, that's what that means. Normally closed, normally open. It's just reversed. So right now, if the light is off down here, it's in the lead channel. If it's on, it's in the clean channel. Well, I don't want this. I want the light on to be lead. So I just go into the other one. Light off, blue, which means clean channel. Light on, lead channel. Now this really couldn't be easier. let's say, for argument's sake, I don't want to use the Big Sky because I don't have one. Now I can use the reverb on my amp, and all I would have to do is unplug loop number 8, which is the Big Sky, and use this puppy in... actually, can I? Nah, it's too complicated. So I could use this in here, and then I have 2 switching functions, and I could actually use the GEC9 to also switch my reverb. Pretty straightforward. So this one I'm just hiding, because I like my board to be clean. I like the cables to be all tucked away neatly. So there you go. Now, we have bank up and down, and I was stupid, I didn't read about what that means. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There's 7 banks, that's a lot. And then H, 8. And then there's 1, I don't know what that means. And a reversed C. I'm gonna go and say, I have no idea what that means. But let me find out. I'm back. Yeah, this is the stupid limitation of like an interface like this. So you got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So that means A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. 10 banks. 10 banks of 5 makes 73 presets. No, 50 presets. Who needs that? Way too many. But since you can also step down, you can always just switch between probably bank A and B, because it's probably all the sounds you need. Maybe A, B, C. That gives you 15 sounds, that's a lot. I'm going to stay in bank A and show you how to program it. And then we're done. So, bank number A, preset 1. The nice thing, I criticized that on the 8 Live and the 8 Junior, that there's no way to put it in bypass. Here, very simple. Push the preset again, bypass, easy, falsetto voice. So let me show you what we got here. We got the compressor, we got the Mobius on the rotary, and then it's going into the amp, from the amp into the effects loop, which has the timeline, and the timeline right now has a nice delay, but phased with the Van Golem. And it's a dirty one, so be careful with it, you know, it drives. Kinda cool. Then we go very simple, just Minotaur. Loop number 3. Now that's a big switch. If you tried to do that without a looper, you'd be lost. Here we got, whoa, drive. And so we're gonna go 2 times Milos Popovic from the GEC9 and the delay. And here on 4 we have very simple compressor and reverb, a little bit of a spring for the simple sound. And we go to the AC Plus and the Brigadier. Okay, so let's say I want to program a completely new one. We're going to go to bank B, preset 1. I've just programmed it. This is how simple it is. You just push the buttons. There's no hidden menu, there's no save, no cancel, no nothing. It's all laid out right here. Can you come closer and show that? So we have these buttons which on the 8 and the 8 Junior are just a feedback for you. They just show you which loops you've programmed. On these you can actually push them and turn the loops on. So let's say I want a Minotaur, that's loop number 3, I turn that on. I want a Minotaur with the deeper blue delay, that's loop number 6, I turn that on. And I want a big sky reverb, that's loop number 8, I turn that on. That's it. And there we are. And we go to a cool sound. So I want my amp in lead channel right here. I want my amp in lead channel with the timeline. Well, I think we can do that. So I'm turning the Van Golem off. So I want the lead channel on, which is number 9, because that's our switch, as you can see up there. See, it's switching. Okay. So I want, what did I say? And the timeline, which is number 7. In the effects loop, let's see how that sounds. What if I want to push that with the Minotaur? Well, let's try that. Cool. With tremolo delay. Tremolo delay. So, tremolo delay. So here we have the Minotaur in the deeper blue. With a big sky. And the amp on clean. And now we're going to distort the amp, push it with the Minotaur, but use the timeline. Now just the Mobius, the timeline in the loop, and the amp on distorted. That's what we got here. So you can see the levels are all kind of, staying the same. You definitely have to do some tweaking. But how easy is this? You can get a billion sounds with this. And as far as programming goes, this is by far the most straightforward looper in the world, because you really have to know nothing. You have to know what loop did you put your pedal in, and then you have to be able to push the button with a finger. Okay? That's it from the Guitar Effects Commander. It commands the effects. The GEC9, very powerful. Is what you would say if you had a very heavy accent, which I don't. Yeah, go home. Spend time with your dog or something. Don't watch me talk about shit. Get this if you want it. Get a different one if you want a different one, but this is cool. That's my verdict. 2 thumbs up. Bye bye.